Ciao a tutti, welcome to Venite a Mangiare. My name is Allegra, I am a registered dietitian nutritionist, and today I'm going to be sharing my recipe for dairy-free Alfredo sauce. Before we get started, I just want to make it clear that there's absolutely nothing wrong with consuming dairy. Dairy is an excellent source of calcium, which can be great for bone and heart health. I could go on and on about the nutrition of dairy, but I'm going to save that for another video because after all, this is a dairy-free recipe. Second order of business is that the popular dish fettuccine Alfredo is actually not an authentic Italian dish at all. In Italian, Alfredo is the name of a man, and if you go to Italy and you ask for fettuccine Alfredo, they'll probably look at you pretty funny. Fettuccine Alfredo is actually an Italian-American dish, and as the story goes, there was this man named Alfredo, and he had a pregnant wife who was severely nauseous and couldn't keep anything down. So, in an attempt to get her to eat something and nourish her, he put together some pasta and some cheese and some butter and some cream, and hence made fettuccine Alfredo. Now, this man Alfredo later sold his recipe to some Americans who brought the dish to America and made it popular in the US. And now you know. Do what you will with that information. Now, I'll be honest, this recipe probably isn't going to taste like your standard fettuccine Alfredo that you're typically used to getting in your favorite Italian restaurant. That being said, this recipe is still super delicious. It's just delicious in a different way. If you're someone like me who is health conscious but also loves to eat pasta and cheese and knows those things are great in moderation, but maybe not every day, this recipe might be for you. It's a great way to enjoy some of your favorite flavors and foods, but maybe in a little bit more of a healthful way. We can talk all about the nutrition later, but first let's learn how to make this recipe.
For this recipe, you will need 3 cloves of garlic chopped, 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch, 2 cups of unsweetened dairy-free milk alternative, 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, and sea salt and pepper to taste. On a stovetop, in a medium-sized saucepan, heat olive oil over medium heat. Add garlic and cook until golden brown. Add cornstarch and mix well. Add 1 cup of your dairy-free milk alternative and combine until the mixture begins to thicken. Once thick, add the 2nd cup of milk alternative and mix until thickened. Remove the mixture from the heat and allow to cool for 5 minutes. In a blender, puree mixture with nutritional yeast, salt, and pepper. Blend until the mixture is smooth. Mix with your favorite pasta of choice. I used a whole wheat spaghetti because more fiber and the store was out of fettuccine. Add parsley and/or red pepper flakes if you like it spicy.
Okay, so before we dive into this dish, let's talk nutrition. So I wanted to start off by talking a little bit about why I decided to make this recipe dairy-free. Honestly, I created this recipe because a few years back there was a vegan restaurant close to my hometown and they had some of the best food ever. Their food was so good, and if you didn't know that you were eating at a vegan restaurant, you probably would have thought you were eating some sort of real cheese or meat or whatever. So this inspired me to look more into vegan alternative recipes. I wanted to make some sort of cheesy pasta dish, and a lot of the recipes I found online looked delicious, but they all used cashews. And unfortunately, I am allergic to cashews. So I attempted to create some sort of dairy-free Alfredo sauce that didn't use cashews, and hence this recipe was created. Because this recipe is dairy-free, it's ideal for someone who may be vegan or may have a dairy allergy or intolerance. Even if you're not dairy-free, incorporating more dairy-free foods into your diet has been shown to be beneficial in decreasing your risk of heart disease and may be beneficial in heart disease management. Nutritional yeast doesn't sound like the most appetizing ingredient, but it's actually so delicious and so versatile. Nutritional yeast is actually just deactivated yeast. Yep, it's just like the yeast you have in pizza or the bread you eat, only it's not activated, so it doesn't grow and it doesn't cause your food to rise. Yeasts come from the fungi family, similar to mushrooms, which makes them a plant-based food. Nutritional yeast comes from the single-celled organism called Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is a single-celled organism that grows on the surface of molasses. The yeast is then harvested, washed, and dried with heat, which then kills or deactivates the yeast. I know, right? Yum. Based on the name, you're probably not surprised to hear that nutritional yeast has a very nutritionally rich profile. Nutritional yeast is particularly high in protein, zinc, folic acid, selenium, and your B vitamins, especially vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is an essential nutrient. Our bodies need vitamin B12 to fulfill many of the important roles, and our bodies don't produce it naturally, so we must obtain it through nutrition. Vitamin B12 is needed for DNA synthesis and is needed for the formation of red blood cells and to support the function of nerve cells. Vitamin B12 is needed for people of all ages of life, but for older adults especially, vitamin B12 deficiency has been associated with decreased sensory and motor nerve function. This means that older adults with vitamin B12 deficiency exhibited higher levels of memory loss and cognitive decline and disability. Another thing to know is that in order for our bodies to absorb vitamin B12, it first needs to bind with a protein in the stomach called HCl, or hydrochloric acid, or intrinsic factor. HCl allows for the release of vitamin B12 from the protein in which it's bound to. As we get older, our bodies start to produce less and less HCl, which can lead to vitamin B12 deficiency. So generally speaking, many older adults do require vitamin B12 supplementation. Of course, this video is not meant to be medical advice, so you should always consult your doctor before taking any supplements. One misconception about vitamin B12 is that it gives you a boost of energy. This claim is extremely misleading because, yes, B vitamins are involved in our energy production. They are used to convert the food we eat into ATP, which is the body's preferred form of energy. But what's really fueling us is the food we eat. Vitamin B12 is just there to help us convert that food into energy. If you're getting enough vitamin B12 through your diet, which most people are, you won't see any changes in your energy if you start to take a supplement. If you are deficient in vitamin B12 for any reason and you do start taking a supplement, you probably will see an increase in energy. In fact, one of the most common signs of vitamin B12 deficiency is fatigue. Okay, I am starving, so let's try out this Alfredo. Venite a mangiare!